when you practice for the next interview, you can improve on those answers. So even if you follow the answers that I'm telling you about now, maybe you change those answers while delivering the answers. Maybe you made some changes, and when you review it later, you will say, no, I should have answered this way, and this way I should have included these points also in my answer. So this is always best to note down for your future interviews. There is no harm in noting it down. All right. And the last point is, send a professional brief thank you email to the interviewer within the next 24 to 48 hours. And the email can just simply mention, it will have your name already. Dear, if you know the name of the person, dear Mr. So-and-so, or dear gentleman, I would like to just thank you for the opportunity and for your time in listening to my answers to this interview. And I look forward to a positive reply, and I look forward to, with excitement, to a positive reply and to move ahead in the selection process for this position. That's a brief thank you email that you can send. And as I said, if you don't tell the interviewer at that time, when you ask for the email, if you don't tell the interviewer that you are asking to send a thank you email, this will be a good surprise for them, a pleasant surprise. And this works for a lot of people. It works very positively that even if they did not have an idea, but you were asking for the email to send them a thank you email. So this is something very positive. My last advice is, never consider any job interview as your one and only hope. The more interviews you give, the better you will perform in each one of them, if you follow the points that I have mentioned. Learn from your mistakes and keep improving, keep practicing. And of course, I hope for all your listeners that they will note down the points, and on their first interview, they will stand out from the other candidates and impress the interviewer to get a job as soon as they would like to get it. That's all from my side, Mr. Mohammed, and sir, most welcome to your questions.
Sir, thank you very much. You have enlightened in this episode that on the day of interview, one job seeker must start his preparation before leaving his home. Preparations started. Please carry a fresh copy of your resume.
Always advisable.
A pen, a small notepad. This is as your tools for the interview board. And also, please make sure that your shoes are clean, your dress are well groomed, official in color, and also leave early so that you can reach early.
Exactly.
And also introduce yourself with the receptionist and the person involved to receive you in the board, and tell them your name and why you went there. And also, most importantly, please visit your fresh home before entering into the interview room to make you finally prepared. And don't repeat the questions you prepared for earlier during immediate
at this time.
So enter in the interview board with a smile, greet them, try to maintain eye contact, and also reply to all these questions carefully, confidently. If anything is unknown, please disclose it. Yes, it is unknown, or I am feeling nervous. And you have also rightly mentioned out that don't consider this interview is the last option in your life, or it is the only option in your life. So it will,
exactly.
If someone consider it, that it will make him nervous. And also sending a thank you brief email to the interviewers. Exactly, sir, you have started from the potential questions, how to prepare one job seekers for the interview, and how to reach to the interview board. So in this stage, I would ask you maybe my last question in this interview. There are difference in culture. One interview in Bangladesh may not be similar one interview in Dubai or may not be similar one interview with a British citizen or a US.
In the US, Canada.
In the US,
exactly.
in the Canada. So there are diversity of culture. So what is your advice to address this cultural norms with the interview panel or interview board when he's entering or when he's speaking, while he's leaving out? What are the other precautions job seekers can take?
See, it's a good question. And in this regard, Mr. Mohammed, I would say that if you're already going for an interview in a country, in a particular area of the world, then it is expected that you will already be aware of the cultural norms. Now, even if I am not from this country in the UAE, but I will do some research, some study before going for the job about the culture of that place. Now, if I suddenly now today from UAE, I go to the USA and I apply for a job and they call me for an interview. So in my preparation, I will make sure to go through different websites, which will give me an idea of what kind of questions to expect in that environment, in that culture. A lot of questions that I mentioned, and particularly when I was mentioning, if you remember, I was mentioning the question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? This is considered a nonsense question in many parts of the world, because I have friends all around the world. Some of them even wrote on my a message to me when they saw this YouTube video of mine, and they said, oh, a European friend of mine, I will tell you, he wrote to me, I will answer this question, because they feel very offended. I will answer this question to the interviewer that I see myself on Mars in the next 5 years, because people might be settled in Mars, So it's a different culture. But in our culture, in Asian culture, we will take this question seriously and we will say, the answer that I tried to give you. So this depends, the questions that you can expect also depends a lot on the environment, on the corporate culture that you are applying in. So it's better to study those areas, the practices, the culture of the place, if it is not your birthplace. Because if it's your birthplace, you already know everything about it. When you're going in through an interview in Bangladesh or India or Pakistan, me and you, we will be more or less, we will be aware of how it is. But if you are talking of another culture, then preparation again is the key, that you be prepared for what kind of questions they might ask you. Now, one point I would like to highlight to you is, while you were going through the summary of our discussion today, something very important you mentioned is, openly informing the interviewers that I am nervous. So it is even possible, it is good, if you are nervous, to ask the interviewer for a particular question. If you are not prepared for it, you can even tell the interviewer openly, may I take a few seconds before I reply? So this tells the interviewer that you are frank and you're open and you are not prepared. This question has taken you as a surprise. That's not something abnormal or something negative for you, but you're open enough to ask that, you can always say, if you ask me a question and I say, and if I take a long time without saying anything, that's negative. But if I say, Mr. Mohammed, please bear with me, give me a few seconds, and I can take 15, 20 seconds thinking in my mind. There is nothing wrong with that. People think that if they do that, it will be very negative. No, it's not so negative. You can always ask the interviewer, I'm nervous, or you can ask for some time before you answer to the question. So that's one point I wanted to go back, because you mentioned this in your summary. So I hope this answers the last question that you asked also.
Sir, thank you very much. A wonderful package of advice for
my pleasure.
For handling a job interview successfully. Just beginning with the job description, whatever you have seen in the career opportunity notice or career opportunity advertisement or in their website. starting from the job description, preparing, identify some keywords in the job description, preparing your CV accordingly, your resume, and preparing yourself, preparing your questions and answers, and also mock test before the mirror test, and then
Yes.
starting during the interview day, leaving early, having a copy of your resume, and also reaching there early, visiting the fresh room before entering into the interview room, greeting everything, and maintaining eye contact, and be frank and close before handling any sort of nervous questions, and also asking any questions to the interview panel. Everything was wonderful. Thank you very much. I think this series of interview will show how to handle a job interview successfully, and more importantly, for knowing more about these questions, I would ask my viewers, my audience, to visit the YouTube channel of Mr. Nadeem Lutfullah. It is a fun channel. You will get many useful information there. And thank you, sir, for allowing us to have another session with you. Thank you very much.
It is absolutely my pleasure, Mr. Mohammed, and I thank you for this opportunity again for being here second time. I look forward, inshallah, maybe in future we meet again. And if your viewers have any question that is not covered in my YouTube channel, they are most welcome to ask me that question, and I will prepare a video for them to address that question. And thanks again to you, and I hope to see you again. And I wish you very best in all your efforts that you are doing. You are doing a wonderful job for your country, and I always appreciate people who, on an individual basis, you don't depend on anyone, just yourself. You are trying to make a difference for your country, which I appreciate a lot.
Sir, hope to see you in another session, maybe on another suitable topic in future as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure. My pleasure.